Hello everyone, my name is Tom Nguyen, and in this series we're going to teach you the basics of programming. Basically, I'm doing these videos in order to help you understand how programming works, the actual logic behind it, and, trying to think like a programmer. Okay? So the language that we're going to be using is called Python. This is Python. And this interpreter right here, this is called the idle interpreter. So this is the Python interpreter called idle. If you click in the link in the description, you'll be able to install Python for yourself. And alright, let's get started. Well, basically, idle that we have here is a Python interpreter. So you just input Python commands or Python code into this terminal and it'll output results or save results, much like the same way that you input things into a TI-83 calculator, right? Okay, so the very basic thing in programming is variable assignment. So what does that mean? That means assigning data to things called variables. Now variables are similar to what you know about math, are things that can hold different kinds of data structures or data pieces. So let's say we have a variable x, right? And to assign a value to this variable x, we're going to hit the equals sign, and then we're going to put any value we want. We can put a number here, so we can assign x is equal to 18,273, or we can put something called a string, which is basically a word. Hello, right? So we can assign this to the value of x. I should probably go back and touch on this point. This is actually called an integer. So this is an integer, and this is a string. And this is just computer terminology. These are what they call these types of data structures. So all you got to do is type this in and you hit enter. Hello has been assigned to x. Now, thankfully, the Python idle interpreter is very nice in that you can just type in whatever variable that you've had before, hit enter, you can see its value. Hello. Easy, right? So say we assign the value 10 to x, and we assign the value 20 to y. We can perform very basic math functions using Python. We can type in x plus y, and it'll return 30. You can even do x times y, and that'll equal 200. Now you're probably wondering, can you do this with strings? And the answer is yes. So if we have x equal to hello, space, and y equal to world, exclamation point, then we add these two together, x plus y, we get hello world. Now this is called string concatenation. String concatenation. And that's when you concatenate or combine two strings together to form a new string. It's very simple. So this is the very basics of Python. So why don't you try playing around with different variables, x is equal to 70, y is equal to 90, What happens maybe when you add a string to an integer? What's going to happen? Say we do x plus y plus z. What do you think is going to happen? Well, what happens is we get an error. Yeah, that's right. You actually can't add integers and strings together because they are incompatible data types. Fortunately, there are ways to make them compatible data types. So, for example, in this example here, we have a string hello inside z, we have the numbers 70 in x, and we have the number 90 in y. What we can do is we can actually turn x and y into strings. We can actually make them into strings in order to concatenate them together with z. So there are two ways that we can do this. The first way is we can manually do it. X is equal to 70, y is equal to 90. Within the quotes, see these quotes designate a string. Then we do x plus y plus z, and we should get 7,090 hello. Yep, and there it is right there. And the second way, let me assign these integers back into these numbers, into these variables, is to actually use this thing called string. So str. And then we put a parentheses around x plus, and then a parentheses around y plus z. Now z is already a string, so we don't need to turn it into a string. When we hit this, And there you go, 7,090. Now you're probably wondering, what is this? This thing right here, str, parentheses, open parentheses, close around this x. Well, this is called a function. And is the next very basic, well, I guess I shouldn't say very basic, but it's a next basic function, not basic utility of programming. Defining functions and utilizing functions to do crazy things. Or not crazy things, but to do useful things. So, we'll cover functions in another video. I hope this is enough to play around with, Maybe you can try using some calculators, and maybe you can try doing some division or addition, subtraction. One thing I should note, though, is that integers can only hold whole numbers. They can only hold whole numbers. What you want, if you want decimal numbers, is you need to use a variable called a float. And now floats are very easy to create. You just type an integer and then you type decimal points and then whatever you want after the mantissa. And that creates a float. And then you can do cool operations, x divided by y, and then it'll create a float. As opposed to assigning 70 to x and 90 to y, dividing them together, and you actually don't get something that you would want, 0. Alright, well that concludes today's video. I hope you guys learned something and try it out and have some fun. Alright, if you liked the video, hit subscribe, hit like. See you next time.